President John Dramani Mahama, welcome to Paris Live PM. Ghana has become the 50th, the latest member of the Development Centre, an outfit linked to the OECD. The aim of its members is to find ways of reducing poverty and increasing the living conditions, bettering the living conditions of members in emerging and developing countries. What can Ghana bring in this respect?
Ghana has been one of the countries that have been most successful in implementing the Millennium Development Goals. We achieved far in advance of the target date 2015, reducing poverty by half. We achieved reduction in hunger and malnutrition. We achieved the Millennium Development Goals on universal primary education. We achieved the goal on gender parity. We achieved so many of the goals. And so I believe that building on that momentum, and becoming a member of the center, we should be able to implement, instruments that make it possible for us to sustainably grow the economy and improve the living conditions of our people. There's a lot of technical support that we believe the Development Center can assist us with on the technical level, to do with the macroeconomy, to do with tax reform, but also to look at implementation of our microeconomic sectors, especially in agriculture, and how we can leverage that to sustainably grow our economy.
Now, Ghana has experienced in the last decade a rate of growth that a lot of developed countries would envy. It's about 4% this year projected. However, it seems that Ghana still remains low in the index, the UN Human Development Index, 138th out of 187 countries. Why is it that all the generated growth does not translate very quickly into improved standards of living?
Well, what it means is that our economy is still fragile, because yes, there was increased growth, average of about 7 to 8%, and climaxing at almost 15% in 2011, which was the first year of oil production. But this year, we have revised growth figures downwards because of the developments in the international markets. China's slowdown is affecting the whole international financial market, and so developing countries too are included, because China has been one of the strongest, consumers of primary commodities, which most of our countries produce, and so that is affecting our economy. But let me say that we have made significant progress in terms of human development. We've reduced maternal mortality in the year 2000 from 900 deaths per 100,000 live births to 300 currently per 100,000 live births. That's a significant reduction. We've reduced infant mortality from 31 to 19. And so those indicators show that there's some progress we're making that we need to step up and build upon. We've increased water coverage to 67% of our population. And that means that more people are getting access to clean drinking water. Life expectancy at the time we gained independence in 1957 was 47 years. Today, 63 years. And so it shows that, in terms of the social and human indicators, things are getting better. We've introduced a national health insurance scheme that covers 67% of our population and gives them access to healthcare. We've expanded health facilities across the country, from regional hospitals, teaching hospitals, district hospitals, polyclinics, clinics. And so more Ghanaians have access to healthcare than they did in the past. So we are making significant progress. And we need to build up on to build up on it. Yeah.
Inflation, however, remains high. The CD has lost a lot of its value against the dollar, although it's picked up in the last few months. And there are power cuts which hamper development. Some people have said that it's down to mismanagement and even corruption. There is a documentary which shows the investigation by a journalist of 34 judges who allegedly took bribes. Now, what is being done really to fight inflation? You've called on the churches recently to actually help in the fight against inflation, and in 2014 you had the anti-corruption action plan put in action. Is that enough?
I think that the fight against corruption must be systematic, and it must be systematic not in terms of its sensationalism, but in terms of the fact that we're strengthening the institutions of state. That is a major cause of corruption, that we have weak institutions. And so one of the things we're doing is to strengthen those institutions. The case of the judges has been particularly worrying, but like I'm saying, we can take a look at that and say that even in terms of dealing with it, it shows that we have a judicial system that is robust. In other countries, this would have been a scandal that, completely, shakes faith in the judicial system. But we still have, judges who have a high sense of integrity. And as soon as this issue came up, it's been dealt with very swiftly. A petition was submitted. The Chief Justice has acted on it. She referred it to me as president. I've done my duty and signed and sent it back to her. She's established a prima facie case against some of them. And we, as at yesterday, had suspended them from their duties, and the investigation is going to start. It shows that something is working in the system that we can build upon. We've passed the National Anti-Corruption Action Plan, which had been in Parliament since 2011, and I've set up the implementation committee to begin the systematic, implementation of the action plan to ensure that we're able to deal with the incidents of corruption. Like I said, corruption is something that affects the whole society, and that's why I normally call on chiefs, on religious leaders, and everybody to get involved in the fight against corruption. It's not only government that must be concerned about this fight. All segments of society must look at it, because it affects the executive, the judiciary, it affects the legislature, it affects the media, it affects the church, it affects the traditional institutions, and so it's something that we must all work on together.
One very last question.
Yes.
The year ahead will be a year of challenge for the government.
Yes.
There are re-elections at the end of 2016. You've called in the IMF last year. They've asked you to take a number of measures like budget deficit reduction measures. Can you unveil a number of measures you're going to take in the year ahead of the elections to fight budget deficits?
We agreed on some benchmarks with the IMF, and these were based on our homegrown fiscal consolidation policy. We held a forum in Senchi in the eastern region of Ghana, and we brought all stakeholders of the economy together, and we presented a homegrown fiscal consolidation policy which was endorsed. It is that same policy we took to the IMF and agreed with the IMF to implement. And so a lot of those policies are policies that we generated ourselves, that we believe are necessary for us to take in order to bring the economy back on track. And so it's not like they're being imposed on us. They are measures that we believe are good to take to bring the economy back to good health. And so a lot of those benchmarks, eliminating subsidies on petroleum products, eliminating subsidies on power tariffs, reducing the wages and compensations bill as a percentage of tax revenues. These are not measures that the IMF will come and tell us to do. We ourselves know that it's important to do it if we are to grow the economy sustainably. And so I believe that because we own it, we will implement it. Yes, it's an election year, but an election year does not mean that we should go over expenditure. We need to keep to expenditure. We need to increase revenues so that we're able to provide the social intervention measures that cushion the vulnerable and poor in our societies.
Thank you very much, President Mahama.
Thank you very much.